Thank you, Senator Grassley. Senator Franken.
Thank you, Chairman Cole, for holding this very important hearing. I'm sure I'm not the only one here who remembers when Ma Bell controlled how we communicated with each other. I distinctly remember when I was a kid, every Sunday at exactly 9 a.m. In Minnesota, my grandmother would call from New York and talk to my father for precisely 3 minutes. And my grandmother was German, and my dad at 9 a.m. would pick up the phone and go, Liebchen. And at 3 minutes, that operator got on the phone and told her 3 minutes was up, and they ended the call. And that was the only time she got to talk to her son and her grandchildren. And thankfully, the breakup of Ma Bell forever changed the cost of long-distance service, and now we live in a world of voice over IP and video conferencing that would not be possible without high broadband speed. But I fear that if approved, the merger would take us one more step, or just one step away from the monopoly market that we had under Ma Bell. It took the Department of Justice more than 35 years before they eventually broke up Ma Bell, so it's important to keep in mind the stakes of a merger of this size and scope. And I hope, Chairman Cole, that this will be the first of several hearings on this proposed merger. We all know the merger is going to raise, I believe it's going to raise prices for American families. It may cost thousands of jobs, and I hope we'll hold a second hearing on these consumer impacts once we have more solid economic data that demonstrates what this merger will mean for customers 5 or 10 or 15 years from now. Mr. Stevenson, I want to follow up on Senator Klobuchar's comments on the national aspect of this deal. And I want to ask 2 questions that I want a yes or no answer to, and then after that I'll promise I'll let you actually respond. Mr. Stevenson, when you were seeking to acquire Verizon wireless spectrum in 2009, didn't you state that, quote, evidence shows that predominant forces driving competition among wireless carriers operates at the national level? Yes or no? Okay, you did. Okay,
I'm sorry, I don't recall the comment.
Okay, well, that wasn't, yeah, I said yes or no.
But it's an I don't know, I'm
okay,
sorry.
Okay. Okay, let's try this one, see if you remember this one. And isn't it true that you've seen a significant growth in new customers in large part, I mean, you don't have to remember this one, in large part because you were able to negotiate an exclusive handset deal for the iPhone with Apple, a large national company that would not have even considered launching their new phone with a small regional player. Would that be correct?
If you're asking yes on the quote, I don't remember the quote.
That's not a quote. That's not a quote. I'm saying, isn't it true that you've seen a significant growth in new customers, in large part because you're able to negotiate an exclusive handset deal for the iPhone with Apple, a large national company that would not have been even considered launching their new phone with a small regional player?
I would say no. I mean, look at Europe. You don't want any explanation, but I can't say yes to the whole question.
No, well, you can, now you can explain. You don't think that Apple gave you an exclusive on this because you are, they would have given an exclusive to a regional player and not to one national player?
It's not as likely, but in Europe,
not as likely.
In Europe, they did spread it around in Europe.
Okay. Well, my point here is, one, you did say the thing you forgot that you can't remember whether you said it. You do advertise, as Senator Klobuchar said, as a national company, talking about how national you are. So my point is that your business is a national business, and that is in large part because the wireless market is a national market where you can achieve significant competitive advantages from a national presence. So my question really is, how can you argue this deal should be analyzed locally, as you wrote in your written testimony, that this deal should be analyzed locally, which goes against the statements that you made before and in your advertising that Senator Klobuchar pointed to?
I understand your question.
Good.
First of all, this is the way the Department of Justice has required these transactions to be reviewed. They have established that these buying decisions are made at the local level. Our experience is the buying decision is made at the local level. Is having a national coverage, a national footprint important? I think it's very important. I believe that's why Mr. Mina advertises his national map off of his website. That is his national coverage map that he advertises.
Absolutely, we do. Coverage. We have to be
and so,
competitive.
but
I'd love to see your national map.
It looks very comparable to that. I mean, it looks very comparable. So we all.
That's not what I've seen in advertising. I've seen your map. Ooh, it's a great map.
We're in full agreement. It's a national market.
It would look very similar to that map.
Should be evaluated that way.
Okay. Well, I got. Good. Let's go to Mr. Mina then. I'm still trying to get my head around all the technology surrounding wireless spectrum backhaul agreements, which I understand is using basically the Ma Bell hard infrastructure, right?
Yes.
Roaming agreements, which we had some discussion about, and interoperability. But suffice it to say, I know that carriers like AT&T and Verizon have really a tremendous advantage over everyone else, in large part because they own and control the infrastructure that was built by Ma Bell. Can you explain how this deal would give AT&T an unbelievable competitive advantage over smaller companies? And have you seen the effects of this over the last 15 years as AT&T has steadily gobbled up numerous baby bells in an effort to return to the dominance they once had as Ma Bell?
Yes, Senator, really to answer some of the questions that came up earlier, AT&T and Verizon, but we're here to talk more about AT&T today, has used their market power to obtain exclusive deals on handsets. There's no doubt. I think you mentioned one earlier. I think for that particular device, it was about a 4-year exclusive period of time. So you have handsets. You have the special access issue that Dan talked about a minute ago, the huge advantage they have there. You have the roaming issue, which AT&T, Verizon, all of us who have been in this industry use roaming agreements to make sure that we had a vibrant product for our customers to use for many, many years, for decades. And when AT&T and Verizon reached a size where it became, it wasn't in their favor to offer those readily, then they began to it became very tough to negotiate with them on that. And we do have GSM technology like Randall's company does, and we have not been able to get a data roaming agreement in place with them. So you have special access, you have the scale over devices, you have roaming issues, and also next generation technology. Spectrum, the beachfront spectrum that was referred to earlier, 700 megahertz, that has been balkanized by AT&T and Verizon, where there's no interoperability in that band of spectrum. And all spectrum before in our industry, there's been interoperability. Any cellular device that came out in the 1980s would work on any network. Any PCS device that came out in the 1990s would work on any network. But now, with the market concentration that the AT&Ts and the Verizons of the world have, they can prevent interoperability across the 700 megahertz block. So those are just a few of our issues, and we are wanting to see this industry return to a competitive era once again.
Thank you.